Now let's see how we can work with functions inside TypeScript. For that, what I will do, first of all, I'll create this function called calculate my age, and this function is going to take this argument called birth year, and we are going to return the age according to the birth year. Okay, this is the plan. Okay, so first of all, now here if I go to this, and I'm going to create this variable called my age, which will be number. Okay, and now I'm going to calculate my age according to my birth year. The first thing that you can notice here is whenever I assign the type for this my age, here we have this red line, and that is because type void is not assignable to type number. And why is that? First, let's try to understand that. And also, if I hover over on this calculate my age, here you can see birth year is any. Now if I try to pass this as a string, this is not going to complain at all. Also, if I remove the type of this my age, there will be no complaint. Let me remove this R. And that is because currently the type of this birth year, the parameter is any. You can see that here. And as I told you in the beginning of the section, any type is dangerous, and we will discuss about that in our upcoming videos. But we don't want to use this as the type any. We want this number or this birth year to be number, so that we can perform some arithmetic operations inside this function, and we can return the age according to the birth year. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I changed the type of this birth year, you can see here we have this error, and that is because the type of this parameter is number and we are passing this string. Okay, now if I remove these quotes from here, everything will be fine. But currently, if you see the calculate my age function, this function is going to take this argument or this parameter called birth year, and the type of this is number, but it is going to return this void. And what is the void? Void means that we are not returning anything from inside this function. Now if I remove all of these things from inside here, again the return type is void. Void means that from inside this function we are not returning anything. Now as soon as I put this return and add this empty string here, now you can see the type is changed to string. Like we discussed inside that type inference video, function also works like that. Even though here we are not specifying the return type, according to the return statement here, because we are returning the string from inside this calculate my age, this is going to capture that this function is going to return this string. Now if I change this to something else, now if I change this to true, as you can see the return type will be changed. Okay, but now if I go to this my age, and now my age needs to be number, then here you can see we have this little red line, and this is because the type of this my age is number and we are trying to assign the boolean value. So for that, what we can do, we can also specify the return type for this function. This function needs to return this number, and as soon as I did that, here you can see the error is gone from inside this my age, but now we have this error inside this function, and that is because the type of or the return type for this function is number, but we are trying to return this boolean value from inside this function. So now if I return this birth year, because this is the number, here we will not have any error. But here we want to calculate the my age or the age of this user. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this new date, and inside here we have to pass the date. So for that, I'm going to use again this date dot now, which will give us the date from the current time, and then we are going to use this get full year, which will give us the year or the current year, which will be 2022. And now if I do this, it will give us the my age or the age of this user. So the main thing here is inside this function, what we are doing, we are taking this parameter or this argument, and the type of this parameter needs to be number, and this function is going to also return this number. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this file. Let's open the console, and I'm going to run this command tsc func.ts to compile this func.ts file. Now here we will have this func.js. So let's try to run this as well. Node space func.js, and sorry for my mistake here. We are also going to return this age just to see what we will get, and for that I'm going to again run this tsc func.ts to compile this file, and then we are going to run this node func.js, and here you can see my age is 27. So that's how we can work with functions inside TypeScript. Now this is the newest one, this is the arrow function. Now let's see how we can work with older functions with the function keyword. Okay, for that here I'm going to create this function, and I'm going to give it this name greetme, and from inside this function what we are going to do, we are going to return this string. Okay, so this is how we can specify the return type inside this function or inside this older function. And also inside this function what we want to do, we want to take this parameter and let's call it user info, and this user info needs to be an object, and here we'll have this name, and the type of this name will be string, and also we will take this age, which will be number. Now let me format this code, and that's how it looks, and I'm going to make it a little smaller so that we can see them clearly. Now here what this greetme is doing, this function is going to take this parameter which will be user info, and this needs to be an object, which means now you can see here we are just taking this number, the single number, and here we have this user info which will be now in that object. Now it doesn't mean whether you are using newer function or older function or what kind of function inside this TypeScript, you can take any kind of data as your parameter, and you can return any kind of data from inside this function like inside normal JavaScript. Okay, now here what we are going to do, we are going to return something. Now from inside this function I'm going to return this string where we are going to add this username, and we are going to concat this with these strings. Username, it's nice to know that you are this years old. Now also what we can do, we can use this console log. Let's use this greetme function, and here now we need to pass this user info. And now here you can see we have this error, and that is because inside this function we also need to pass these two things. So let's pass this object where we have to pass the name, and you can see TypeScript is awesome. Whenever I try to type the name for the property, it will give me this suggestion, and it will also tell me this type. So here we can pass this name, and the type of this name will be a string, and this is the property of this object. Okay, now here I'm going to add this Chondo, and also here we have to pass this age, and here you can see the suggestion. And for this age what I'm going to do, I'm going to again use this my age like this. And now because the type of this my age is number and we need the number, everything looks fine here. I'm going to simply save this file. Let's open the console, and I'm going to again run this command tsc func.ts to compile this file, and let's run this node func.js, and here you can see we have this 27 from right here from where we are logging this age, and we have this John Doe. It's nice to know that you are 27 years old. So that's the function. That's how we can work with functions. So that's how we can specify the type for these parameters. And by default the return type for any function will be void, like I told you earlier. Now if I create this func here, and this is going to be the single function where we have nothing, and if I hover over on this, you can see the type will be a void. and that is because we are not returning anything from inside this function. This is just like we have this return keyword and we are not returning anything from inside this function. As you can see, now I have this return keyword inside this function, and the return type for this function is void. So void means nothing.